pick on.
Okay,
Them dogs anymore.
welcome council, welcome staff, guests. At 5:30 PM, we'll call this meeting to order at 5:30 PM. Would you please do roll call?
Mayor Rodham,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Perry,
Here.
Councilmember Caffey,
Here.
Councilmember Willie,
Here.
Councilmember Oliveris, Councilmember Starnes,
Here.
Councilmember Melton.
Here. Would you please stand and join me in the pledge, followed by the invocation. All four goes on. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Melton?
An invocation tonight is a verse from Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. Do not fear the road ahead, for God walks with you. His hand will guide you, and His grace will sustain you through every trial. Amen.
Do we have anyone signed up for citizen communications?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Moving on to our regular agenda. Agenda item 1. Consider taking any necessary action on setting the proposed City of Rockdale 2025 tax rate, setting the public hearing if necessary, and directing to staff to post notice of proposed 2025 tax rate. Tim?
So if you look at the schedule that I pointed out, that I passed out, we are pretty much right on track. August 4th is this meeting. This is something that the city hasn't done in the past, although it is required by the state that we set a proposed tax rate and announce the public hearing at a council meeting, and authorize staff to have that published. And that proposed tax rate doesn't set the rate, it just sets the maximum rate. So whatever you set tonight, we can never go above that rate. We can always bring it down from there between now and the time that it is adopted. And then I'll also be announcing the dates of the dates scheduled for approval of the ordinance. So with that being said, staff is recommending a tax rate at the same total rate as last year of 85 cents. Now, with the 85-cent tax rate, of that rate, we're proposing 0.160057 for the INS rate and 0.689943 for the M&O rate. The INS is what supports our debt. M&O is what supports general fund operations. The INS rate that we have proposed will support the issuance of the tax note that we are proposing is a 7-year note to help us fund street improvements and park improvements coming up. So the M&O rate that we're looking at actually is a little less than we originally proposed. In the budget that was sent out previously, we thought we would generate more revenue than it will. The proposed M&O rate will generate about $2.8 million for the general fund. Now that rate is actually higher than the no new revenue rate, and the no new revenue rate is the rate. There is a worksheet that's filled out. It's only about 10 pages long. No, yeah. Anyways, it's extremely complicated, and the appraisal district, Ryan Nichols helped us with that. But it has the no new revenue rate of, I'm sorry, it's in the notice. It's like 79 cents, so it's below the current proposed rate. And what that rate does is, from the same basket of goods from last year, it generates the exact same revenue that we had in the current year's budget. So it really doesn't help us in any way in regard to cost of living increases or increases in cost due to inflation. So the state allows us to increase that rate to generate 3.5% more revenue. And if we did that, that would raise the rate up to what's called the voter approval rate. If we go above the voter approval rate, if de minimis was not being considered, then it would trigger an election, automatic election. De minimis rate is even higher than that, because as a city under 20,000, we can actually raise $500,000 more from the same basket before we hit the de minimis rate, and if we go over that, it triggers an election. So, I've got it right here. So, the no new revenue rate is 79.88 cents. The voter approval rate is actually more than what we're proposing. The voter approval rate is 88 cents. And then the de minimis rate, we could go all the way up to 92 cents, but I'm not proposing either of those. I'm proposing the 85 cents, which is the same rate that we had last year.
That's the voter approval rate, 85 cents.
The voter approval rate's 88 cents.
88.
We're actually doing 85 cents, so we're actually less than the voter approval rate. I think last year we were about a penny or two over that. This year we're below the voter approval rate.
Tim, not to get you off track, I know this, every nickel counts, is that, I think 2 meetings ago, the health insurance gentleman was in here, the mayor from Temple, and evidently our insurance gonna be quite a bit lower. So is that in the new budget, that number, or is it kind of going off the old
So,
number?
the new budget, I've made a number of changes to what was presented previously. I added in some limited pool house improvements, and then also funding to do a full evaluation of the pool and pool house, because right now there's concern that the pool house is not ADA compliant. But more troubling is potentially some issues with the pool itself. We want to make sure we know what the full scope of what we're looking at before we spend a lot of money. So we did include, I think, about $10,000 in the budget to repaint, to clean things up, to fix some things that are broken, but not going the whole way of fixing everything, because that could potentially require a tear down and rebuild. So,
Tear down and rebuild of the pool house and concession area, or the pool itself?
well, the pool house, but there's also concerns about the guts of the pool and the decking as well. I don't want to spend, $100,000 on the pool house if we end up having to redo the entire pool.
So we're gonna do the minimal required to be ADA compliant in the pool house and make some other upgrades, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so the improvements that we are gonna do are just cosmetic. They're not to make things ADA compliant. It's just basically cleaning that place up, repainting, making it look a little bit more presentable.
How do we avoid, and I'm not saying rightfully, but how do we avoid it being ADA compliant?
Because
As a
it's
municipality.
an old facility,
So is it like grandfathered in?
is,
Is
and
that,
when we start making changes, and Ben can kind of, when you start making changes, if you make a certain dollar amount or renovate a certain percentage of the square footage of the structure, everything has to be brought up to code.
The biggest thing is the wheelchair bound people. You have to have a lift to take them in and out of the pool, is that correct, to be ADA compliant?
Well, I'm talking about the pool house itself.
Just the house itself?
Yeah, the restrooms.
Pool already has that?
everything.
has it, the house doesn't.
Okay.
yes, pool has.
So I also added a new vehicle for planning and code, because the vehicle that they currently have is gonna be needed in the street department, because they're adding employees. I also included funding for a comprehensive water and sewer master plan in the enterprise fund budget. That's a big ticket item, but in order to set impact fees, we have to have that master water and sewer plan, and it was actually called for by the comprehensive plan as one of the initial things that we do.
Do we, in regards to that new vehicle, do we utilize the same service that we do for our law enforcement vehicles for that vehicle?
For the
Have
enterprise,
some more bargaining power?
yes, so we're actually looking at financing it through enterprise over 3 years.
Okay.
I don't want to spread it out, even though they'll probably drive it for 5 years or longer. We're looking at only financing it over 3.
And at the end of that term period, do we own it outright and we keep
We
it?
own it.
Okay.
I also put in here some funding for festivals and events. Next year the fireworks festival is going to come back here. Even if we get donations or a sponsor for the fireworks, we still have to budget for the revenue and expense of that activity. And then Diego's also planning another festival downtown, but I think that's being funded out of HOT funds. The Patterson Center acoustical improvements that were discussed a while back. We put those back in the budget. Security cameras for City Hall, Police Station, Library, and the parks, we added to the budget. Now, the security cameras were already in here for the water and sewer plants, those were required. And so we did go ahead previously and include those, but we did put the security cameras back in the budget for those areas. And then we also adjusted salaries and benefits, for updates and corrections across the board, so. Now, it is important for me, and I really want you to make you aware of this, because this is gonna make things a little bit challenging going forward, but it is how we're able to balance the budget this year. So, in the general fund, under this proposed budget, the beginning fund balance is, for the general fund, is $3,177,000. And with this budget, the projected ending year fund balance is $2,640,000. Required 105-day reserve, which we have by policy, which we're required to keep 105 days of general fund balance available. That 105-day general fund balance fund balance reserve is $1,659,000. So even by the end of the fiscal year, we will still have $980,000 over that 105-day general fund reserve balance. So we have basically $980,000 of cushion over our required reserve. But this budget does transfer in $537,000 from the general fund reserve. And that's, with doing that, that's where we end up with that $980,000 of cushion over the 105-day reserve fund balance.
That's over and above what's on the second page that you're saying, right?
Yes, so we are required by policy to maintain that 105-day
Yeah.
fund balance. So we have that, plus 980,000 after this budget, which includes transferring that money from the fund balance to help support it.
From the general fund balance.
Yes.
The 500, is it 500,000 you're transferring over?
Yes, so there's, that's being transferred from the reserve fund, and even after doing that, we still have an additional 980,000 over the required reserve.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
The previous, a few weeks ago, and you said these are the changes made, it's what was presented a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, during that presentation and discussion, I brought up the fact about my concerns of our fire engines, and that in my opinion, we should start putting some money in I'll call it a fund or an account, to begin to grow that account to be able to purchase a fire engine when we need to and not have to go into full-blown panic mode. Is that part of this, has that been done in this?
That's not been done in this year's budget. When you spoke about that, I thought you were talking about in future budget, but like I say, there is that $980,000. I don't know how much of that you would want to pull.
I'm definitely not proposing that we pull anything from that, because I like having that, I don't know if cushion's the right word, but I don't know what other word to use. I like having that cushion in our fund balance, but I just say I'm very concerned about our fire trucks and their longevity that they have left, our big engines. So, I would like to get council's thoughts on that as well.
No, well, I think last time everybody was in favor of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting
Under
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something for a rainy day, which it's gonna rain one day. There's no
Yes,
doubt.
sir.
And you said the lead time on that's
It can be up to a year.
A year?
And if you want something custom built, if you don't
That
buy
way we don't
something
take such a hit at one time.
off the shelf.
And I was told, it could also be up to 3 years. Is that right?
Potentially, that's right, depending on what you
It
go
is
after.
it is a long process, and the cost of that truck, as Mayor mentioned, I think last time, is gonna be north of $1 million. So, it's likely that it's gonna require some other funding sources as well, and maybe some, whether that be debt, whether that be a grant like they got recently, or some other, source of revenue.
But I think even that grant we said was what, 2 or 3 years?
That's what took.
No,
it
it
was
was
longer than that.
Now it's almost start, wasn't it?
So the grant that the department just got to buy the new brush truck
Right.
this past year, I applied for that grant as chief in 2013.
Yeah.
So 12 years.
That's a 10 to 12 year
Better
process.
get on it.
Yeah.
So,
So if we wanted to create a fund of this, a portion of this 980,000 plus, do we have to do that this evening, or could we, as the year flows through and we see if that's sustaining, could we do it at a later date as well?
You can do that at any time.
Okay,
You wouldn't actually do it tonight. You would kind of give us direction which way, to proceed, and then we would make the adjustments in the budget itself when it's time for consideration.
okay,
Is that 980, so, I mean, yeah, that could be for that.
yeah.
And could we have it in a meeting in the next coming? It's, that way we can maybe take some of that for streets and stuff like that,
Well,
like a wish list?
so, yeah, so, and what I'm proposing with that tax note and the general fund over the next 2 years is spending about $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
You know, and realizing that if we spend $500,000 a year on a new street, it's gonna last 15 or 20 years, and then we have to start all over again. So I don't like to encourage to do a huge chunk, I mean, even though we might have to play some catch-up now, but to spread that out and do quite a bit. I mean, if we can be disciplined to do that, when I was talking about $500,000 a year, you know, we're gonna spend $5 million over the next 10 years. So, and that's gonna do quite a bit of streets, not gonna do all the streets. It's gonna take probably 20 million to all the streets that need to be done.
I mean, to me, that should just always be a part of,
Budget.
just always in there.
Ongoing.
Yeah, just ongoing, cause it's not gonna change over time.
No.
You know, you're gonna continue to need it.
No, I agree.
Same with the fire engine, you know what time
So we
you're
start
gonna
putting
need
a
it.
certain amount of it every year, put it in a kitty and let it start growing some interest, and when we need it, it's there.
Would you like me, in the budget that you consider for adoption, to plug a certain amount into a kind of a vehicle CIP, create a vehicle fund to pledge a certain amount every year to try to build that up?
Or what does your crystal ball say on those equipment? I mean, in a
So-
perfect ideal world, what do you, when do you think?
Let me just give you a year model. So one of our first out engines is a 1996 model. The other one is a 2012 model. And then the tanker tender, the tanker pumper, which is a tender, is a 2009 model. Really, I mean, if you look at ISO ratings, there's a thought that ISO ratings are based on a 20-year lifespan of an engine, which I think that's misleading, because if you have an ISO audit, you just have to prove as a department that your engines can pass a pump test done by a certified pump company, which those engines pass a pump test. They're tested every year and certified every year. But I have seen, even though our maintenance budget, we just spent a lot of money on our fire engines, and I think we're down. One is in the shop still, then one's gonna be swapped out, having some pretty serious maintenance work done on it. But if we can get 20 to 25 years out of those engines by encompassing a solid maintenance, preventive maintenance program, that's good. Let's face it, they don't get run like a paid municipal department 24/7. Fortunately, we hope they don't ever. But, so we can get a little more longer lifespan out of them. I don't know if I answered your question, but.
But the piece of that though is not only are they aging and gonna need replaced, but you're also gonna, if Rockdale is growing, you're gonna have to add on top of that.
Yeah,
You're gonna
you've
add-
got to add to your fleet.
Yeah, you got to not only keep it updated, but you got to build it bigger too, so.
Do you think, like, in a perfect world, we have 5 years? I mean, not holding you to it before we need one?
5 years before we need one,
Yeah,
Brad?
I mean, in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, yes. In the world as we stand in today, and knowing those fire engines, I would say more like 2 to
And so
3.
when we do that, so say 5 years is up and we need one and we got so much in the kitty, is there grants we try to get, which you're not gonna get for 13 years? Or is it like we gotta pay the whole thing right up front?
Absolutely, you can apply for those grants through the Texas A&M Forestry Service, but that's a long process,
might-
as you
gotta
just
pay
brought
for it,
up.
write a check for it right there.
There are other federal grants as well that you could potentially, Homeland Security type grants.
Y'all finance new ones, or do you, would
You
we?
can finance them.
So on the grants, do you have to wait till you're needing it, or can you just do it
No,
now?
you don't have to wait.
We can just do one now.
Yes, sir. And I think the department may have an active grant in. I need to confirm that, but grant request, I should say.
Well, if you do 50,000 a year in 5 years, that's 250, so, you know, you spend now they cost $1 million for a pump truck, I mean, you're a quarter there, but in 5 years, is it gonna cost 1.2 then?
Oh, yeah, but what choice do you have? It's gonna go up no matter what.
Start putting something in
need
that
to
thing,
buy
is
it
what
right
do we wanna
this
start
second.
putting in there that's,
You know, the fact is, if you put money aside for that every year, you know, you're that much closer.
True.
And when the need does come and you have to you have to finance, you're that much closer.
true.
And if you're putting it away for that, and then just say some catastrophic event happened, it's not specifically ear tag for that. You could use the money.
It would take council action.
Okay.
It would be specially ear tagged for that specifically, unless council decided otherwise.
And it'd be an interest bearing account, correct?
Yes.
It would stay in the general
In
fund,
general
right?
fund?
No, it would actually, and that's the point, it would be transferred out of the general fund into that CIP fund.
But
Is that a high yield savings of some sort, or what is
Sorry?
that? What is a CIP fund?
Well, it's just as separate from the general fund, like right now, we'll probably do the same thing, after the tax note is issued, assuming you guys proceed with that. Once that tax note is issued, we'll set up a street reconstruction, fund. All that means it's cumulative, in other words, you put money into it every year, and you spend money out of it every year, but you may put more money in than you actually spend, or you may spend more out of it than you put money in over time, because of the fact that fund will build up. It'll maintain a balance. And so with a vehicle, I mean, I did something like that with a vehicle replacement fund. You know, the city of Henderson actually funded that like $700,000 before I got there. And then anytime they needed to buy a new vehicle, instead of financing it, they just pulled money out of there. Now, one year while I was there, we actually had excess revenue because we had a really good year financially, and we seeded that money with an extra $400,000 to grow it, and that we actually funded a fire truck out of it. But back then, I think the fire trucks were only about $750,000 or $800,000.
one thing I would like to clarify, because I know our citizens watch these meetings, and I didn't say these things to set in panic of our citizens, because our fire department is still very well prepared, and even in the current situation where we have some engines out for repair, we're utilizing our automatic aid agreement with Cameron Volunteer Fire Department for one of their big engines and crews to come over and support us on a fire if the size requires that.
And we do have redundancy in the department with multiple.
Correct. We still have other multiple engines in the department, and that automatic aid has been put in place since we've got this engine out having maintenance work done on it.
But like, yeah, I agree with you, Ward, and that's great, but like Lynn said, we're gonna need one for the growth that's coming, so in 5 years.
I agree.
Cornerstone will hopefully be built out, other ones will be done, so it's like, are we another 1,000 more people here, and we have to have one then? So, I feel good putting something in, we just gotta decide what
I
amount,
think the only question is just the amount.
how much, you know?
Tim, would you have a recommendation on?
You know, I would probably keep that with at least $100,000 a year, maybe $150,000 a year, on an annual basis. And we won't plan on spending it in this budget year, but allow that to go, and then do the same thing next year and the next year after that. And hopefully, and by that time, our development will, you know, accelerate, and our revenues will accelerate, and so we'll be able to put a little bit more in there and build up some room to issue debt when we need to for.
Can that amount be a directive to you from council? Does that require a motion and a vote?
I understand, if that's the way, it doesn't need to be a motion, you're just giving me direction to amend the current proposed budget. So it'll come back to council for a formal motion and adoption. If I understand correctly, I was kind of looking for a concurrence on a number, if you think 100 or 150 is sufficient.
I say you go 100, and at any time, if you feel like there's still excess, we bump it more. It's easier to go up than it is down.
Okay.
At least it's a start,
Yeah, thank you, council.
Everybody agree?
yeah.
All right.
Appreciate the,
We will create that fund and get it added to the budget.
So, I have a question. When you say you're earmarking that, for fire truck, replacement or engine replacement. Is that money sitting in our general savings? Are we getting the best bang for our buck by it sitting where it's sitting?
So right now, all of our money across the board is at Classic Bank. And we get the same interest rate on every fund that we have in the bank. It doesn't matter if it is kind of a pooled account where all the money is together in one bank account, and we keep track of the funds on our system, it all earns the same amount of interest. Now,
But that's the floor, right? Whatever the rate is at the bank at any given time, that's what we're getting,
that is
correct?
correct.
So if
Right
you're
now,
willing,
they're just, in our next meeting, we have a agenda item to extend our depository agreement with the bank for another year, and it caps it at 5%, which is, we haven't had 5% since I've been here, but it's been floating between, what, 4.5%?
It's 4.60 for July.
That's the interest it's earning?
Yes.
So something like a money market account, basically?
no, that's just the standard interest rate, right? That's earning, right?
Well, it's a lot better than it was about 5 years ago when we were receiving about 0.5% of interest.
I've been tracking, and Jim from MDD has been tracking different interest rates from different facilities and investments. And when he first came on board, he suggested that we use text pool or something like that. But the interest rates that those, companies were offering have continually been lower than what we earn at the bank. So we've never felt the need to try to go out to some of these other investment firms because they can't match our rate with the bank.
So it's likely that we will come forward to council for authorization to set up a tax pool account, but we won't transfer money into it unless we can do better in those accounts than we can at Classic Bank, which right now Classic Bank is offering the best rate that I've seen.
But what about even outside text pool and,
So you're very limited, so when, under a city's investment policy,
Legally.
number one is security. We can only invest in things that are extremely secure, and there's diversity and
Liquidity is a huge one. We need to be able to access our funds as quickly as possible in case of some sort of.
because we need them. So you have to have pretty much almost instant availability to transfer money and be able to write checks. So that's part of just government finance investment, and that's part of our investment policy. So we're limited. We can't go out and buy. You can buy CDs potentially, but we can't invest in money markets or
Stocks and bonds, things like that.
there's mutual funds. You cannot invest in those. It's just not allowed. So. But anyways, so I will bring back in the next version of the 2025-26 budget, we'll set up a vehicle replacement fund for the fire department and transfer $100,000 from the general fund reserves into that.
okay, so we're gonna set that up as $100,000 this year, and in your budget notes, next year, we're gonna see if we wanna up it to,
We could
we're
put,
going to the same 100 for sure.
we could do 100, we could do
We're gonna
150,
invest, see if we wanna bump it up a
depending
little bit.
upon what the situation is next year.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Can we also, in the meantime, can we work on a grant? I mean, is that something we need to get started on sooner than later?
I will look into that. I've not ever written fire truck grant. I'll probably talk to the mayor and see if I can get some.
Ward, you actually wrote the last one, or
I did. It's through the Forestry Service, Texas A&M Forestry Service.
at least
Well, that
West
was-
Plains done it before, so yeah.
And we, years ago, I'll say this, years ago, I was under my tenure as chief, we hired a grant writer, the department did, and applied for a Homeland Security grant of several hundred thousands of dollars, which I don't think we ended up getting selected for any of that, but that option should be on the table again as well. I would recommend that the city considers hiring a professional grant writer, and I think we have those
We do.
available to us, obviously, that we've used in other instances to apply for one of those grants. But as far as the Texas A&M Forestry Service grant, that's a pretty simple process to fill out, and that can be completed by the department.
Do you know, Mayor, if they have applied for grant? I know that they've been talking about adding on to the station, if they've applied for grants.
I don't know. I'd be answering out of turn if I said yes or no.
Okay.
I can find out and answer that.
So, getting back to what I was talking about earlier, with the enterprise fund, which is water and sewer and trash. So the beginning fund balance, October 1, 2025 is projected to be at $3,063,000. We are pulling money from that reserve as well. The ending fund balance is $2,448,000. The required 105-day reserve is $1,106,000. And that will leave us with a fund balance over and above the 105-day reserve of $1,341,000. And with that being said, I would, unless there's additional, and that, what we just talked about is not gonna change the issue we have tonight.
Okay.
So on the agenda tonight really is, somebody will need to make a motion to set the proposed rate, which I'm recommending at 85 cents.
Okay.
Means you can't go over 85 cents. Hopefully you don't go less than that. But that gives us the opportunity to adopt a rate of 85 cents. The second part of that motion would be that we will have a public hearing for the budget on August 11th, which is next Monday, and we are authorizing staff to go ahead and advertise for that public hearing. And then last thing is that we would have a date to consider approval of the budget and tax rate on August 18th.
I have a quick question and comment on one of the things on the second page. I'm appreciative and I'm quite frankly very surprised that you were able to do what you could for security cameras for City Hall, Police Station, Library, and Parks. Thank you for that. My question is related to the parks. Like, how extensive would the cameras be? When you're at Veterans Park, are you gonna be, if something happens in a wooded area over here or at the gazebo, are we, is it a fairly comprehensive camera system that would be existing in places like that?
So I put all of those cameras in the administrative budget under remember where that went, Roxanne?
611-501.
There it is. Capital improvements, we put $150,000 in there. And that should be sufficient, but basically that budget will drive how extensive the cameras can be. You know, so I think that, I don't know that we'll need to use all of this, but we were at about $150,000, $155,000 a year ago.
It started at 125.
But that did include the Public Works as well, but I don't think it included the library. It included, I think that included the water and sewer plant
It was,
as well.
let me clarify, it was on the project list for 125,000. And at that point, I think Chief's cameras was yanked from that because their situation was gonna be a lot more extensive.
So this basically gives us $150,000 for these, and it doesn't, and it excludes the ones for the water and sewer plants, because those are funded through the water and sewer budget.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is I don't know how extensive, but we will get them to the greatest extent we can with the budget that we have.
I would suspect, obviously, a lot of that has to do with the strategic placement of the cameras, right? And that we would
Correct.
definitely work to accomplish that with our strategic placement of those cameras.
You wanna get cameras that are high enough resolution
Right.
that they can basically, I mean, they're primarily in the parks, they're primarily being used to identify vandals, and provide security. So if something gets damaged, we can go back to the cameras, the footage and identify potentially identify the
I
perpetrator.
would imagine swimming pool's probably a very high priority for cameras as well.
I know Semule Park, when talking to the park board, Semule Park has had some issues. And Moultrie Park and then Veterans Park as well, so.
So what is the, is the cameras at PD inside or outside? Both? So I have a question. If you've got, security cameras at City Hall, Police Station, Library, and Parks, you got $150,000 to do it. If $150,000 gets us mediocre cameras at all these locations, is that what we're after? Or are we after good cameras at this location and this location, and we're gonna wait till next year to do anything? Because the worst thing, I've got not so good cameras in places. Nothing makes you madder than having a camera that you're paying for that absolutely did you no good in the end. And so what I don't wanna see happen is, we got $150,000, and to cover all this, it's gonna really take $160,000, but we did it, and now we need it, and we got nothing. So,
And we wasted that 100. I would agree with Lynn.
so I wanna be very careful. I would rather something not get them this year, and us come back and try to put some more money into it versus trying to get everything something, and we really got nothing.
I agree. And those technology and as fast as all this is upgrading and updating, I mean, these cameras, how good were they? Or this camera system we currently have, how long did they last? Or
Which ones, the ones at the PD?
yes, sir.
So, the proposal that we were gathering for the PD, we were gonna use our existing cameras, because they're still very good camera system, very good cameras. We had to upgrade the system because the system we have is proprietary, and the man that owned it and created it died. And so we had, if it goes down, we're dead in the water, and that's what we use them under our prisoners and whatnot. And so we were looking at that, but as far as the PD goes, we were gonna use our existing cameras, because they were still very top of the line cameras. Throughout the rest of the city, not so much, so they were gonna need to be some decent cameras.
In some cases, they're just non-existent.
That would be my question too. Is this a system that's upgradable, or after 3 years do you just shuck it and start all over? 'Cause that's a little concerning too.
Is it monthly, you know, what kind of monthly
To
fee?
spend $150,000 on cameras that are not upgradable and only last for 3 years would be concerning to me. I mean, that's a big investment for only 3 years of
Crazier things have happened.
use, because the fact that, I mean, they're recording, and you may never need them. But when you do need them, you need the footage to be.
I know, yeah.
I would like to say something in reference to council's thoughts and concerns over cameras, and Chief Metters can echo this better than anybody. When you're going back, when someone's going back and reviewing footage and trying to identify someone, as Mayor Pro Tem Perry said, there's nothing worse than having poor quality cameras when you're trying to zoom in close on someone and identify someone off that footage. It's impossible. So it's imperative that we ensure as a city, these cameras we are purchasing are of the highest quality, where we don't run into that issue when we need them. It's just imperative, in my opinion.
I'll say that from my store. The ones I got, I can zoom right in on faces, license plates, everything. It does help out tremendously.
Yeah.
So, my point being, let's don't put them everywhere if we can't afford to put them everywhere. The ones that we do, let's do them right.
I will tell you this, so when we go out and we put this project together, this isn't the last time you'll see it, because the contract will come back to y'all to review and approve. So, I will make sure that the cameras that we have, meet our needs.
So,
Hopefully we could, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hopefully you could rely on some of your other contacts in other municipalities to give some advice on the good and the bad.
You know, Randy Thompson to help us out on the deal. He's got more criminals from that corner of that.
Randy knows, hey,
He
he's
does.
electronic.
I'm telling
He
you,
putting a lift on my golf cart. Don't mess with Randy right now. He
he's got
knows
more
how to do
criminals on
anything.
that corner.
He doesn't clock out of work on that.
He's helped us solve more than one crime.
Yeah.
He's got a good system.
Oh, yeah.
He does.
That's pretty good.
And I promise you he did his research.
you said something when we started the meeting, that whatever we set as the rate tonight, not what we're adopting, but we're setting the rate, we can't go back on, correct?
We go down.
We can go down, we
You
can't
can
go
go down,
up.
but you can't increase it. So typically, what cities have done for me in the past is they actually adopt the no new revenue rate. But I don't want that being necessarily reported that we're considering that.
Well, but the voter approved rate was 88 cents, right?
Yes.
Who knows what happens between now and a month from now when we actually adopt? Why don't you adopt the 88? You're gonna try to come in at 85 or below, but
And the norm.
you're not tying your hands for no reason.
Normally, I would ask the council to adopt a proposed rate of 88 cents.
Why not? Why?
I normally would,
So why not? That's what I'm asking. Why?
because I had told you guys that I was gonna do everything I could to keep the rate at 85 cents. But, last year, if you recall, we were in a position where we were ready to adopt a rate, and there was an error in this worksheet that caused us to go back and do some major cutting. I don't anticipate that this year, but you never know.
That's why I'm saying, what does it hurt to give yourself that cushion? We have zero intention
Okay.
of getting up to 88 cents. We have every intention of being at 85.
Yep.
But why put handcuffs on ourselves when there's a lot of things that are out of our control still coming in? From
I will change my
Raisel or whoever it
recommendation,
might be.
council. And my recommendation is somebody make a motion to set a proposed rate of 88 cents. And unless something happens that is totally unforeseen over the next 2 weeks, I will be recommending the 85.
I've got zero qualms of defending that. That's smart business in my opinion. Why tie your own hands? But
I would agree.
I agree. I agree with that.
hopefully you come back and say it's 84. But it is what it is. Okay?
Okay, council will entertain a motion or action?
Are we at that point? Are we ready?
Yes, sir, we are.
The motion would be, make a motion that the city adopt, or the city set a proposed tax rate of blank.
Okay? I'll make that motion. Don't let them be mad at me if they don't like it.
Go ahead, sir.
I'll make a motion that the city set a proposed tax rate of 88 cents for the 2025, 2026 budget year.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? I have some discussion myself. Tim, it's my understanding that you're gonna come back to us the next meeting on the 11th?
14 to
Yeah, on the 11th.
Hearing?
And at that time, you would have a better, I'm using the word grasp, but I don't have a better word. Have a better understanding, better feel for what that, should it really be 88, 87, 86, 85? With some additional information you're going together, is that correct?
That's correct. Now, and I will tell you, unless something changes between now and then, I will be, at the public hearing, we'll be talking about an 85-cent tax rate. And then on the 18th, we would be considering action.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's in my opinion, that's the correct path.
And I will amend the budget to include that extra fund for the fire vehicles as well. And ask that, yeah, go ahead, sir. That's it. So,
Okay, any other discussion?
and put in your budget workbook for next year that we're gonna revisit that 100K for the fire department.
Being no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Now I understand that we need another motion, Tim,
yes, to set the public hearing for
August 11th.
August 11th.
Council, I'll entertain action on setting a public hearing for August 11th.
I make a motion, we set the budget public hearing for August 11th.
I'll second it.
Motion is second on the floor. Is there any discussion?
At 5:30, is that right?
5:30 PM. Being no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Any other motions required, Tim?
No, but I just would announce for the record that we will have a special meeting on the 18th to consider adoption of the budget and the tax rate.
Okay. Tim, do you have any other business that we need to attend to tonight?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Council, do you have any other items that you need to attend to before I adjourn? Being none, we are adjourned at 6:15 PM.